In 1339, King Edward III visited Southampton after the French raid the previous year and ordered that walls be built to close the town. This started a massive programme of wall building that ended with the construction of the arcades in 1380. The walls stretched for 1¼ miles around the town. Today, roughly half of the walls, 13 of the original towers, and 6 gates remain. The main entrance to Southampton was through the Bargate, which, according to English heritage, is one of the finest town gateways in England. It dates from around 1180. Large drum towers with arrow-slit windows were added on the north side around 1280. Between the centre 2 windows is a later statue of George III in Roman costume, which replaced a wooden statue of Queen Anne. The Bargate was a toll gate, and every cart carrying goods into and out of Southampton had to pay a tax. On either side of the Bargate are 2 lions reflecting the local legend of Sir Bevis of Hampton, the mythical founder of Southampton. Running westwards from the Bargate, the town walls include Arundel Tower, built early in the 13th century, with another stage added probably in 1378, when Sir John Arundel was governor of the castle. Arundel Tower and the nearby walls were the responsibility of the Shoemakers, Saddlers and Cobblers Guild. Connecting to Arundel Tower is Catchcold Tower, built in the 15th century, with 3 gun ports amongst the earliest in Europe. The name Catchcold was a nickname presumably derived from its exposed position on the western shore. Little remains of the original castle, and along the outer wall by the sea there is Castle Watergate and Castle Vault, leading from what was Castle Quay. It was through Castle Watergate, a gateway defended by portcullis, that royal passengers entered the castle, and it was also from here that the king's cargo was unloaded and stored into the castle vault. Connecting with the 2 towers lies the arcades. They are in fact 2 layers of medieval wall. This is because the most recent wall was built onto the walls of earlier houses belonging to wealthy merchants. The area known as the West Quay was the busiest part of Southampton. The quay stretched out into the River Test, where ships unloaded their cargo. This was still part of the shore until the 1920s, when land was reclaimed to build the western docks. Imported goods from all over Europe, including wine, were unloaded, whilst wool was the main export commodity. The West Gate was built in 1380 and was the only access to the quay from the town. Inside the gate was a double portcullis, murder holes where weapons can be dropped from above, and cannon. The angled gun ports are quite rare in England. This gate was the second most important in the town after the Bargate. It was through this gate that Edward III and his bowmen left for France in the Battle of Crecy in 1346, and in 1415 Henry V passed through with his troops to embark on the second largest fleet ever assembled at Southampton en route for France and the Battle of Agincourt. Only the fleet assembled for D-Day was bigger. The Pilgrim Fathers also began their journey to the New World from West Quay on August the 15th, 1620. Wealthy merchants lived in Cuckoo Lane during the 13th century. After the French raid of 1338, their waterfront properties were demolished to make way for the town wall. Most of the town wall in the south has been demolished, but towards the Watergate Tower is the Wool House, built in 1401. This is the only medieval warehouse in Southampton still in use. Further along and next to the Watergate Tower is the ruins of a building known as Canute's Palace. It was built for a merchant in the late 12th century, long after Canute had died. The Watergate, which is readily distinguishable from the Castle Watergate, was the main entrance onto Town Quay. It was built immediately after the raid in 1338 and had a large drum-shaped tower on its western side. Town Quay, built in 1411, was equipped with a crane, and like the Bargate, the Watergate had a charge on all imports and exports. God's House Gate and Tower lie at the southeast corner of the town. They were named after the nearby Hospice of God's House, the Maison Dieu. which was built for the use of pilgrims journeying from France to visit the tomb of Thomas Becket in Canterbury. God's House Tower is a 2-story building with a 3-story tower running alongside the gateway. It was built in 1417 and was one of the earliest forts built specifically to carry cannon. Here the town's cannon and powder was stored, and from the top of the tower a lookout could keep watch for invaders. North of God's House Gate and Tower stands a half-round tower built on the site of an old dovecot. Heading north along the walls on the left is the site of Southampton's Franciscan Friary. The friary was closed by Henry VIII in 1538 during the dissolution. When the town wall on the side was built, the friary was cut off from its orchards and from many of the poor. In 1373 they were allowed to build a gateway through the wall on condition they defended it. The very northeast corner of the walls was defended by Polyman Tower. This was a very strong drum tower, originally known as St. Denis Tower. It was enlarged during the reign of Richard II and renamed Polyman after the mayor of Southampton. A wall ran directly to the Bargate to the west and contained 2 small interval towers. Today, the town walls are recognised as an important historical feature of Southampton and protected as a Grade 1 listed building and scheduled monument.